at 99.9 HD2.
So we got the final year of the 4-team college football playoff, and we know the teams, a lot of controversy, one major controversy with Florida State, and the era of SEC to Big Ten, that's all going to change now. So who really won yesterday? We don't know. We'll find out after it's all said and done, but I'm curious to get our next guest's opinion on the selection yesterday and the 4 teams, and if Florida State needs to be there. Rudy Carpenter. Rudy, what do you think? Did Florida State get snubbed?
With that being said, I also understand, the selection committee's viewpoint, right? Like, the selection committee's viewpoint is they're trying to put together the most entertaining games, the most entertaining schedules, the best fan bases, the games that's going to get the most eyeballs and most money bet on it, right? And, they probably got it right that way. But, I mean, this is a robbery for Florida State. I mean, can you imagine being punished for having a player get hurt? You're literally missing out on a dream. You're literally being punished because one of your players got hurt. And now a selection committee is saying, hey, because one of your players got hurt, you're not going to be as an exciting of a football team, so therefore you're out.
It's interesting that, Travis was already out last week when the committee moved Florida State back in the top 4. Mm-hmm. And then, what a week, and they don't blow out Louisville. If they would have blown out Louisville, would that have changed anything, you think?
I have no idea. I mean, I guess kind of like the NBA in-season tournament, they say that style points matter and point differential matters, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I don't really know what to think of it. Like I said, I think that Florida State got completely robbed. I definitely believe that. Super hard pill to swallow, knowing that you're not going to the playoff game or something that you can't control. With that being said, I think another huge robbery is Georgia. You're never going to convince me that Texas and Alabama are better football team than Georgia. I don't believe it. I don't. And I think that Georgia had a tougher schedule than Alabama, and they beat everybody more impressively than Alabama did. But again, you're looking at the 4 teams who are in, probably outside of Washington. You couldn't deny Washington, and the other 3 teams are huge blue blood teams, some of the oldest, with the best traditions and the best fan bases. And if you're the committee and you look at this, and from an entertainment value, they probably got it right.
It's interesting, Rudy, you talk about Georgia. I felt the same way. I felt that it would, if it's not Bama and Georgia, and so be it, move on. But they dropped Georgia to 6 underneath Florida State. And I, quite frankly, I think that the 4 that they got, I'd like to see Georgia in there as well, too. I also think they felt, whether Jordan Travis was playing or not, that these 4 teams, maybe Georgia 2, might have been better than Florida State based on their schedule, even based on what the eye test showed them.
Yeah, I mean, look, and everybody knows how hard it is to beat a team 2 times, regardless, how good or bad that team is. They're very, very difficult to beat 2 times. It's especially hard to beat Nick Saban twice. Very, very difficult, especially at the end of the season. So, like I said, if you're just looking for the best teams, I don't know how you keep Georgia, out of this. I mean, as terrible as it sounds, and I hate myself for even saying this because I'm giving in to the bullcrap of, everybody else in the selection committee, I could almost see why Florida State's not in this situation, because there's no doubt they're a different team. Without Jordan Travis, they probably get boat raced by Michigan or Texas, whoever that they played, Washington, I don't know, whoever. They probably lose because of that situation. So I can see it. But again, I don't see how you don't think if Georgia were to play head up with all 4 of those teams in the playoff right now, who do they lose to? Who do they go into the game as an underdog against? I don't think anybody, in my viewpoint, and they're out. So I don't really get it.
Rudy Carpenter is our guest on the Toyota guest line, right Toyota guest line. Rudy, the portal is open, and I'm telling you, there are players just flocking to the portal and there are lots of big name players as well. You get Cam Ward out of Washington State, according to reports, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, Michigan State. They're all interested in this guy right away. Is this going to be like sharks in a feeding tank? In other words, when the kids come out of that and into the portal, teams are going to be on them immediately.
Oh, I mean, of course, I literally, no joke, think I've had 25 phone calls today from college coaches trying to get guys. Literally, as we were on this phone call here on the radio, I had a coach at the University of Washington calling my phone trying to get a guy. Literally, I'm not trying to name drop, just being honest. During this radio interview, I had a college coach from the University of Washington call asking me, or about to ask me about a transfer quarterback. So look, I went to ASU's banquet last night. While there, spoke to Kenny Dillingham and a lot of other coaches there. They're already shifting their attention to the transfer portal. They want offensive linemen. They want defensive linemen. They need a couple DBs. I mean, they're very dialed into what their needs are and what they're trying to get. And then you also see crazy things going on. You got a kid like Kyle McCord, who was the starter at Ohio State this year, started every game. They won every game except for the only game that matters against the University of Michigan. And
3 minutes.
He was basically run out of town by the coaching staff and the fan base at Ohio State. So he's entered the transfer portal. People ask, why would a guy like Kyle McCord enter the portal? Well, they were 12-1 or whatever their record was. They lost one game to the University of University of Michigan. He has his exit meeting with the coaching staff, and they tell him, look, we can't commit to you to being our starter next year after losing one ball game. So, here he is in the transfer portal. I mean, to me, it's an amazing situation. Day one of Jonathan Smith being announced hired at Michigan State, all three scholarship quarterbacks on that roster enter the transfer portal. This is just the new way of college football.
Rudy, have you received any kind of a formalized letter from the athletic department at ASU or Kenny Dillingham or anybody in particular asking that they've got a bogey that they'd like to reach? The reason why I bring this is a good friend of mine has sent me a text, a formal letter, went to UNLV alumni, UNLV personnel, but former students, that they're looking for $300,000 just to keep their players at UNLV who will be coming here for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Have you received anything formal like this? There's a formal letter that went out to the former football players and the alumni of UNLV.
I haven't seen a letter like that myself, but like I said, on Thursday night this last week, ASU had a private event of big-time donors where they got in front of their donors and essentially broke it down to them in what it's going to take to either keep good players on their roster and or go sign really good players on everybody else's roster. You heard Matt Rule this weekend talk about what it's going to take to get a good quarterback on the open market. He basically said, if you want to get a good quarterback out of the transfer portal to come to your program, a top flight guy, it's going to cost between $1.5 and $3.5 million bucks. ASU raised a decent amount of money on Thursday night. Yesterday at the banquet that I was at, they tried to raise some more money. With all that being said, I did think Kenny Dillingham did a good job of essentially trying to turn everybody's attention away from NIL and away from the future of the Sun Devil program, and wanted really everybody there last night just to honor the seniors and the players they had that were currently at ASU and about to leave. And I thought personally that was a good move on his behalf.
Over 2,100 players have entered since November 26th.
Wow.
And they're like
1,000 today.
Like a 68 quarterbacks in the portal now.
Close to 70
Rudy?
now, I bet.
Rudy, how many quarterbacks are we?
Yep.
About 68 or so,
That's
somewhere there.
nuts. It's just, Rudy, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if anybody does, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets better unless somebody steps in, and I don't know who that is, but this free agency stuff is just not good for the student athletes. So, but hopefully it helps you out with some of your guys, get them in a place where they get an opportunity to play. And I know Manucci, the guys you train too, I know that's a big part of it. So, Rudy, we're going to talk about the transfer
Yeah.
portal quite a bit this offseason. So thanks for making time for us today, man. We always appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care.
That's Rudy Carpenter. How about that? You got a University of Washington coach
Calling him
as he's talking to us about grabbing some of the players that he trains.
just goes to show you how big time Rudy is.
Oh, he is.
Oh, he's got a lot of good guys.
He is sponsored today by All City Towing. Looking for a career change? Well, one that actually pays and gets good benefits, great benefits. All City Towing, they're hiring. All you got to do is go to their website at allcitytowing.com and search careers. That's allcitytowing.com and search careers. Got some NFL fun facts from yesterday.